What if I told you most great gardeners cheat? And there's one tremendous shortcut all advanced gardeners take that I can teach you in about 5 minutes. It's the same shortcut that I use to effortlessly grow over 100 varieties of fruit and veg in my home garden. So if you want to be a better gardener, consider giving this video a green thumbs up, but then sit back, hit that full screen button, and let's dig in. I think one of the things that's most impressive and exciting and overwhelming when you're new to gardening is when you get to see a garden of someone else who's already been doing it for a while, and then just being amazed at the sheer variety of plants that they grow. And just being in complete awe of it and how many years of experience it must take to learn how to grow so many different things. For this video, I counted how many different varieties of fruit and veg that I have in my garden right now, and it's over 70. And when you're new to gardening, you must think that the only way to get that is with years and years of hard-won wisdom and learning each plant individually so that you can have such a really diverse garden. But the reality is there's about 5 different veggies that once you learn how to grow those, you can grow basically everything in my whole garden. And the reason that this works, and what a lot of gardeners actually eventually work out through hard-won wisdom that I can tell you in about 5 minutes, is that all of these plants are usually really closely related to each other, or more so, there's only a handful of families of plants where you just need to learn the couple different groupings, and then if you can learn to grow one from each of those families, you know how to grow basically the rest of the family with maybe a couple small changes. Or in some cases, it's not even a family of plants, it's one individual plant that we have just bred into different varieties to just enhance different features of that same plant, which is exactly what the first one is. All right, now I can let you know that I just shot this whole video and the audio wasn't recording. I was gonna plant out some more seedlings after this, but I might not get the chance now that I've got to shoot this whole video again. Ugh, at least I guess my presentation of this information should be pretty well rehearsed. I guess give me an extra thumbs up for twice the work. Anyway, back to the first crop. The first family is probably the one that you already know, or if it's not, your mind's about to be blown. And this, as a gardener, this is one of the fun things that you get to tell people at parties that actually blows their mind. And that is the brassica family of plants. Specifically, if we get a little bit narrower, the brassica olisara family is actually all the same plant, which includes veggies such as cabbage, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, kohlrabi. These are all actually the exact same species of plant. It's just that we have selectively bred them to enhance different parts of the plant. Obviously with cabbage, we're trying to get a lot more of those leaves just all balled together. Broccoli and cauliflower are just the flower. You can fill an entire plate with all of the different veggies from one plant, one magical plant. But then in the wider brassica family, you have a lot of your Asian greens like bok choy and pak choy. You also get like mustard greens. They're all also in the brassica family. So if you're new to gardening, just pick your favorite one out of all of these, grow them once, and then you pretty much now know how to grow everything else in that list. They all have really similar seasonal preferences and soil preferences. Anytime you pick up a new variety, you'll learn their slight differences. Say cabbage wants a little bit more space than broccoli does, but those are the small changes that you can pretty much guess each time you're trying a new variety. And once you've nailed one, you should be able to nail all of the rest of them on the first go. Now the next one's my favorite. It's honestly probably everyone's favorite, and it's a really eclectic collection of plants that I think not a lot of people realize are all in the same little family, and that's the nightshade family, which includes tomatoes and potatoes and potatoes and tomatoes, but also capsicums and hot chilies and eggplants are all actually part of this tiny little family. All right, fair enough. Potatoes are kind of the outlier in this family. All of the rest are really similar, but potato is still just the easiest of all of them, really. Something you might have seen on the internet a couple years ago is someone took a potato plant, cut the stem off, and then grafted a tomato plant onto that stem. So they had a plant that had potatoes as roots that then was a tomato plant that fruited tomatoes, which by the way didn't go that great. They're all pretty small. But this is the reason that that experiment worked, is that they're actually genetically really close. And all of them share roughly the same preferences. They all really love heat. Potatoes care the least about heat. But for the rest of the family, basically the more heat that you can give them, the more they love it. And they all really love nice, rich soil. Early in their life, they love lots of nitrogen, but then once they start fruiting and flowering, they prefer more potassium and phosphorus. Tomatoes, you need to completely trellis. Chilies, capsicums, and eggplants, they love a stake to help support their stem. And again, once you can grow one, you pretty much know how to modify that to grow the rest of them. The next family is potentially the most obvious. This is the one that includes zucchinis and cucumbers and pumpkins and melons, watermelons, squash, but this is the cucurbit family. If we start with something, say zucchini is, in my opinion, probably the easiest of them to grow. They all love similar soil and they have really similar maintenance. That just one of the main things you need to look out for is any diseased leaves you need to be pulling away pretty quickly. And then things like powdery mildew, you need to, if you can, help them get a fair bit of airflow. Other than that, they're all really similar. And then the differences are things like zucchini is a lot more of a bushing plant. Pumpkin is nearly identical, except instead of developing as a bush, it shoots out vines. You can get some bushing varieties. Cucumbers are really similar again, except they're a climbing plant, so you let them climb a trellis. But again, once you know how to grow one, you can probably grow them all. And by the way, this is the ugliest part of my yard. I call it my cucurbit corner because I've got zucchini and pumpkins growing and some cucumbers behind me. But the cucurbit family is also a great example of another way that kind of knowing this framework can benefit you, is that there are some different challenges to these different plants, and depending on you or your lifestyle, might help you pick which variety or veggie you want to grow. Like, for example, with zucchinis and cucumbers, you pretty much need to nail the exact day that you're harvesting the fruit, because one day too early, they're a bit too small. One day too after, they start to go a bit hollow and funny inside. Or with pumpkins, they're really set and forget. You pretty much want to leave the pumpkin to die on the vine. So if you're planning on traveling a lot this summer, either get a friend that wants a bunch of zucchinis or maybe opt for pumpkin. The next family is of the one that I always describe as the gateway plant into gardening because they're so fun and quick and rewarding. And that's the legume family, which includes peas and beans and lentils and even peanuts. And the great thing about this family is there really is a variety that will suit you and your garden. For beans, there's both climbing beans and ones that just grow on a stem. For peas, there's a variety that grows in basically any climate. And they're all pretty low maintenance plants. There's not that many challenges that you encounter with the whole family. If you're new to gardening, definitely find some space somewhere in your garden to grow something from this family. And then you will be eating peas and beans for the rest of your life. Before we get to the last family, which is an absolute favorite of mine, if you've liked this video, consider subscribing, or actually let me know in the comments if you want to see more of this, because there's probably another half dozen plant families that we could go over that I've decided to leave out of this video to try and cover most of the veggies that you want to grow in the least amount of time. But there are some families that I've left out of this. Like, did you know that spinach and beetroot are actually part of the same family? Oh, and while we're here, a couple videos ago I said, please leave a comment with your favorite plant or veggie emoji because it helps the channel. Like, comments really do help YouTube push this video to other people. And a bunch of you have kept doing it in all of my other videos since, so thank you, and feel free to do that too. Now, being culinary garden, this is probably the most important, because it's the most delicious, family of veggies that we're covering today. And that is the family that includes onions, spring onions, leeks, garlic, elephant garlic, shallots. That's the allium family. And what's cool about the allium family is you can almost organize it in this spectrum, where on one end you have garlic and then on the other end you have onions. And then everywhere in between, everything else just kind of fits in there. First you have onions, and then you have spring onions, and then you have leeks, and then you have shallots, which are kind of almost exactly halfway between an onion and garlic, and is one of the secret ingredients that a lot of restaurants use that makes their food better taste than what you're using at home. And those are one of my favorite things to grow because they're so ridiculously expensive and actually really easy to grow. And you grow them kind of similar to garlic, where you just take one and plant it, and then that propagates into more bulbs of shallot. Unlike onions and spring onions and leeks, where you're starting those from seed. Shallots, you start growing from a bulb. And then there's elephant garlic, which is actually a hybrid between a leek and garlic. That you're also starting from a bulb, and you get these giant bulbs of garlic. And then at the end you have garlic, which again, you plant a single bulb, you plant a single clove, a garlic plant grows, and then you get a bulb of multiple cloves of garlic. If you want more garden shortcuts, check out this video where I show you my seed starting method that will get your seed started 2, 3, sometimes 4 times faster than what is normally meant to happen. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Patreons. Consider checking it out if you want to support the channel. Thank you. I will see you next time.